Welcome, folks. Welcome to my first initial installment of my own Vander Brown podcast. And in this podcast, I'm going to tell you a little bit about sports. Well, maybe a lot of bit about sports. Definitely want to get into some pop culture and stuff that are going on in the world today. And definitely going to tell you some good movies, some TV shows to watch during the summer. Because there ain't nothing but time to watch and catch up. Binge watch season. And definitely, I'm going to tell you about the stories of people today and how they can relate. You can relate to them, and we all can relate with each other by sharing each other's stories. And I'm going to talk to some athletes, and they can share their stories, whether it went in a positive or negative way. And I just want people to tell their stories, get people to know stories about other people and create relationships and create bonds and how everybody's story connects in one way, in some way. But first things first, how was the NBA season? It was good to me. To me, the NBA season on a grade was a solid A minus. Can't beat it. And how was those NBA finals? Came in a sweeping end. Congrats to the Warriors on winning their third title in the last 4 years, sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James for the third time in 4 years. Both teams got to the NBA Finals for 4 straight years, yet it's the Warriors on top. Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Iggy, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston. Champs. Where does this team rank in the annals of great teams in NBA history? Are they the 1960 Celtics? 80s Lakers and Celtics? 90s Bulls? The Detroit Pistons of the late 80s, early 90s? The Spurs of the 2000s, the Lakers of the 2000s, the Miami Heat in the early 2010s. Where does this Warriors team rank in the annals of great teams? In my opinion, they're a top 5 team of all time. Yes, they may not have had hand checking like they did in the old days, and no, they might not have a dominant big in the post, or no, they might not have the great amount of bench and role players, but 3 championships in the last 4 years says otherwise. That's a top 5. They're a top 5 team of all time. And we all have different ranks of where we can place these teams and where they're at. But leave order aside, the Warriors are a top 5 team of all time. And we should appreciate the greatness we are seeing from the Warriors. Keeping their same core together for 4 years is tough in itself. Most teams win a title or 2, get to 2, get to 3, get to 4 titles in a row, a la the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they have to break it down and build it back up. But the Warriors kept their same core together. It was Steph, Klay, Draymond, Andre Iguodala, and Sean Livingston. Adding key pieces, key free agents, key players like Kevin Durant, David West, Jordan Bell, Kevon Looney, Swaggy P, or Swag Champ, Nick Young. Tell me, where do the Warriors rank in your all-time teams of all time? But that brings us to the other side of the court. What will happen with LeBron James? Again, this is decision part 3. Where will LeBron James go? Will he go to the Lakers? And I would love it as a Lakers fan. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to be biased. I would love for LeBron to be a Laker. Have to listen to Magic and his knowledge of what he got to the game and bring another free agent along. Or will he go to Houston and join CP3 and James Harden and create a trio and a super team in Houston that can match what the Warriors have done in Golden State? Or will he go to Philadelphia, remain in the East, join the likes of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid? Or will they go to Boston, perhaps with Kyrie again? Or Miami, another reunion down in South Beach? Or maybe is it San Antonio with Greg Pop? Who knows? But we do know this. It is, again, the summer of LeBron James. Where he goes, we don't know. But we do know it will turn the tides of the NBA landscape as we speak. Which brings me to my next thing I want to talk with you guys about today is the impact some of these top free agents will have on the landscape of the NBA. These are some to name a few. LeBron James has a player option, June 29th. We'll see about when that. We'll see what happens then. Chris Paul is an upcoming free agent. Many don't know that. Paul George has a player option, more than likely will decline in order to become a free agent, in order to get the Supermax. DeMarcus Boogie Cousins is a free agent. Clint Capella is a restricted free agent. DeAndre Jordan has a player option, more than likely will decline. Isaiah Thomas is a free agent. Trevor Ariza, Carmelo Anthony has a player option more, and he will also accept his option and remain on the team for another $20 million, because who's going to turn down $28 million? And after what we saw from Carmelo Anthony, who would sign him to that type of money? I wouldn't. Would you? This ain't the old Melo. This is I'm done Melo. And Derek Favors is another one. But since we don't know, I don't know and you don't know where these free agents are going to land, hypothetically speaking, this is the perfect time to shop and see what teams is going to do. Now, in a perfect world, in my perfect world, I would love to see LeBron James and DeMarcus Cousins on the Lakers. And for you Warriors fans, you want to revamp your team, correct? You don't want to stay pat. You want to get better. What would you think if DeAndre Jordan signed with the Golden State Warriors? DeAndre, Clay, Steph, Draymond, KD. The team's revamped. Who would stop that from happening? Or if DeMarcus Cousins remains in New Orleans, what if the Lakers go after Clint Capella and DeAndre Jordan goes to the Houston Rockets? Creating another reunion between CP3 and DeAndre Jordan in Lob Clutch City. Where will Isaiah Thomas go? Could Trevor Ariza go to the Golden State Warriors and become a 3-and-D guy that they need off the bench? What about Derek Favors? Where is Paul George going to go? Will he stay in OKC? Or will he go to Los Angeles with LeBron James? These hypothetical things that could happen could turn the tides in the NBA. Which we all think, who can match and who can contest the throne of the Golden State Warriors? Will the moves of the Rockets, the Lakers, or the Sixers, or the Spurs, or Boston, who can contest the throne of the Golden State Warriors? And what moves can some teams make in order to take small steps into contending in the playoffs with the Warriors? The closest team right now was the Houston Rockets. It took them to 7 games. Now, some say had it not been for Chris Paul's injury, the Houston Rockets would have won in 7 games. And some Warriors fans may say if Andre Iguodala was healthy, the series would have been over in 5, maybe 6 games. We don't know. But we do know is that the Warriors are the champs. And there hasn't been a strong contention of teams or a team yet besides the Rockets. So I want to talk to you guys about a big deal that's been happening in the last 2 years, and It's kind of the protest, the Anthem Protest, when Colin Kaepernick took a kneel down 2 years ago in a game in a game where he took a knee during the national anthem. And now it's culminated to where the president, the NFL's bottom line, and players have taken knees during games. The president threatened to fire guys and call them SOBs, and making it about patriotism, nationalism, and the flag, and honoring veterans and such. But the players are kneeling down in order to create a social conversation about the social injustices that are happening with African Americans, and more specifically African Americans, but definitely all minorities that have been wrongfully done due by the law in the criminal justice system. And so when the Eagles won their Super Bowl 52 win in February this year, they were invited to the White House last week, and the White House disinvited them when they found out that the Eagles were not going to stop protesting the anthem. And it all happened to be where the NFL owners created an anthem policy in which they would have players that, if you do not want to stand for the flag, you must stay in the locker room, and those that do want to stand for the flag must stay for the flag. But this creates a lot of anger from the fans that, like myself and you, that watch football. And you see these players, and if they come out of the locker room and the TVs catch them walk out the locker room and go to the sideline, wouldn't that create more of a problem than what we already have now? See, if a player protests silently, which it was about, why would they want to make it a problem and make it about them when they have to come from the locker room? And so Malcolm Jenkins, one of the leaders of this coalition of players that wanted to try and find a resolution and talk to the owners and try to stand up for those that don't have a voice, and held with a silent protest. He orchestrated and worked with the owners to have them donate or give $89 million to these social justice organizations that are helping minorities, and specifically African Americans, that are being wrongfully done, and make people aware of what's going on. But he held his own silent protest about what was going on when the White House did not allow for the Eagles to be presented in front and celebrated for winning their title earlier this year. So he read in a message card, when asked by reporters, and in a silent protest, he showed the message: you aren't listening. More than 60% of people in prison are people of color. Nearly 200,000 juveniles enter the adult criminal system each year, mostly for nonviolent crimes. Stop school pipeline to prison. You aren't listening. Colin Kaepernick gave $1 million to charity. Any given night, 500,000 sit in jail, convicted, no, too poor, yes. So what is that saying? When you hear these words, what does that say? Is it about the anthem? Is it about military? Is it about patriotism, nationalism? Is it about being an American, as the president and his people that voted for him in America? Is it about that? Or is it about the racial and social injustices that are happening every day to people that don't have a voice? To the Sterling Browns that just happen to be an athlete that parked in an illegal spot in front of a Walgreens, and just so happens that it was caught on body cam that he was tased and held down and put in handcuffs when it could have been a simple ticket. This is for those that don't have that video evidence, for those that don't have this platform, for those that don't have the chance to fully express the racial and social injustices that happen to them. This is for those that can't use their voice or that don't have the money or the resources in order to create a viable social conversation. So what does this impact have on the NFL and its bottom line? Owners, as well as fans, are both missing out. Fans don't want to go to the turnstiles and they don't want to watch an NFL game because they believe, due to what the president is saying, that the Anthem Protest is about patriotism and the military, which it is not. The fans don't show up at games. The fans don't watch the games. It affects the owner's bottom line. And when it affects the owner's bottom line, it becomes a problem for all the players. As has been said before, if you affect the man's bottom line, the man will affect you. So what is the solution? What is the social solution to solving or come to any type of resolution for the Anthem Protest? Is it a social conversation that must occur between people of all origins and races? Is it a social conversation that must happen between police, the law, and minorities and African Americans? What is the solution? That is my question to you people, to everyone listening, to everyone that wants to know what's going on with the protest. What is a viable solution for where everyone can see or everyone can feel the same type of rapport, or everyone is not treated fairly, but everyone sees a great deal in which everyone is satisfied and not everyone is separate or everyone is mad about one thing overpowering another or somebody not giving them a chance to speak on what issues are happening today. What is the solution? Or what can happen? Or what can we do? My thing, I personally believe that there should be a social conversation amongst people, everyday people, not no leaders, not someone that can't speak for what's going on in their life or they don't have the same plight as me. Social conversation between most people that deal with it every single day, that don't have a voice. That's a solution. It doesn't have to be one group of people in for everybody. It should be social conversations in every single city, in every single state, every single neighborhood. Social conversation. But we're days away. Another thing I want to talk about to you guys is we're days away from the world's game, the greatest game. The World Cup, baby. 2018. How can we not be excited? I'm ecstatic. The game of all games, the beautiful game of soccer. This year, the World Cup will be held in Russia this year. And it all starts on Thursday when Russia faces Saudi Arabia at 8 a.m. Pacific time. There's some notable matchups that happen in the first round, which is Portugal and Spain, Germany versus Mexico, Argentina versus Iceland. But will the 2014 champs of Germany repeat? Or will the likes of Argentina, Brazil, England, Belgium, Portugal, Spain rise to the top? And who's the dark horse team in these World Cup? Is it Uruguay? Is it France? Is it Switzerland? Senegal? Poland? Sweden? Mexico? Belgium? Who's the dark horse team? And who can make an impact to the round of 16 that no one's expected? And who's in the group of death? And who is the group of death? Is it Group A with Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Uruguay? B, Portugal and Spain. C, with France, Australia and Peru, Denmark. Personally, I believe there's two groups of death. Two groups of death. It's Group F with Germany, Mexico, Sweden, and Korea, and Group H with Poland, Senegal, Colombia, and Japan. I mean, Group of H has Poland, Senegal, Colombia, three teams that have stars on each team, even Japan. But they're all in the same boat. Group F with Germany and Mexico, will Germany remain the dominant team, or is Mexico bound to upset the World Cup champs? And what can Sweden do? Korea. In Group A, I believe that Egypt and Uruguay will be the ones to come out of the group, and then Portugal and Spain in Group B, France and Peru in Group C. Group D, headline favorite is obviously Argentina, and you could say either Iceland or Croatia will fight for second. Group E, clear favorite is Brazil, with Switzerland being the one to come out second. And Group G with Belgium and England. This is the World Cup we're talking about here. How can you not get excited? It's the World Cup. But me being a homer, me having this biased podcast, I'm going with the champs, the 5-time champs at that. Brazil. So enjoy. 3 days away. Thursday. World Cup 2018 starts, baby. Let's go. So my last thing, I have a couple things. I like to give a little message or give a little thought of things that go through my mind that I want to express to you. So my message of the day today is, don't follow trends, be a trendsetter. Self-explanatory, yes. But basically what that means is, be someone who is a leader, or learn to lead by following somebody else. Don't have to follow trends that you see on social media, things that you see in everyday lives, people outside, or people that don't influence you in a positive way. Be a trendsetter. Do something different. Be unique. Don't do the everyday norm. Don't be a follower to people all the time. Follow what they do and learn either whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, and then lead others the right way. That's basically, to me, you can interpret it how it is, but to me, don't follow trends. Be a trendsetter. And a new show I want to talk about is the series finale of Sense8. And in this show on Netflix, Sense8, that came out on June 10th, it talks about these 8 people from 8 different backgrounds in each continent in the world. And they're born on the 8th day of the 8th month, and they are born on the 8th year. So, of these people, they're all connected cerebrally with each other through their minds, and they're connected as one. They're either gay, straight, transgender, come from different backgrounds, rich, poor, desolate. They have problems, they have issues, they have struggles, they're rich. They don't all connect, but in some way they're connected cerebrally, and they help each other out to live. But this show, Sense8, when I see it every time, it opens my eyes, because it shows that you have to be accepting of people. And there's kind of falls into the trendsetter. You have to learn to lead, but also follow somebody else in order to get up to their level and lead others. And in the show, it shows that these people connected together, leading each other in order to figure out what's really going on. It's a fantastic show. Check out Sense8 or Sense8 on Netflix. Very good show. Series finale, season 3. Great show to watch and binge watch over the summer. And so the last thing I want to talk about is my story of the day. And my story of the day is about Forrest Brown. And Forrest Brown was a coach, a loving uncle, a brother. He was a mentor to kids. He was a Pop Warner coach. He was inspiring to other people in their lives. Forrest Brown was my uncle. And the reason why I say was because he passed away earlier this month. And it's been a little bit tough, I'm not going to lie to you all. But he was a great man. He may not have been the nicest of all times, but when you're around him or when you're in his presence, he was just there. And he would always talk, and we'd always have conversations late at night, 10, 12, 1 o'clock, whatever time. Just call you, just to talk, see how you're doing. What are your goals? What do you want to do? What are you trying to do? How are you succeeding? And in those conversations we had, everything would just be about whatever, life, goals, relationships, school, etc. And just by talking to him, I seen this. By talking and just conversating with him, how come people don't know about how great a person you are to me, to our family, how important you are to others, how many kids you inspired, how many kids you coach, how many kids you still stay in contact or keep into connection with, or keep looking them up as they get older, go to college, become adults. How come people don't know? And so this is kind of my way of telling you all about his story. And if you didn't know him, this is me telling you his story. I'm not going to tell you all the stories, but I'll tell you what I can tell you. And his story, he was just loved football. He loved the Raiders. He loved to coach. Even though some of the kids were knuckleheads, or some of them pissed him off, or some of them, wimped out, or, they got hit sometimes and they go crying to their mama and daddy, and they come talk to him, and he would just let them know, hey, it's football. Can't be soft in football. And he just let you know straight up how it is. And so he would have been my first guest on here. He'd have been the first person I talked to, the first person that I would like to be on here, because his story is a pretty good story. And I just want to make sure that everyone that has those loved ones that they missed or that passed away far too soon, or didn't have the time to tell them goodbye or see them when they were alive for the last time, and make sure you can reminisce on those good times, the times that we don't always have to cherish enough. And for those that have people that are still alive, to hold them a little tighter, hug them a little bit of love, make that kiss a little bit more sweeter, to cherish that. And Forrest Brown was the best person that you can have a conversation with, and it can go on for hours, and 2 hours seem like a minute. So I want you all to just picture when I tell you This is his story. The story I'm going to give you. Not the other stories, but the story of him, the best I can say, from my perspective. And how he was so positive and always there for my family, our family. How he was always there. He was always somebody to talk to. Somebody to hang out with. Just go out, hang out, just to do it. Coach kids, because he loved to coach kids. Loved kids. May not have had kids, but he loved to coach them. He loved to be around kids, around football. And he loved the game so much that by putting that